Good evening, Mr. Ken.
Yeah, good evening. You had a good buka puasa.
Yeah, I had earlier.
Oh, you're already here. You guys very lucky because we were studying into corporate governance 2017. Yesterday they came up with a new one, corporate governance MCCG 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, new one. So I posted on the WhatsApp now for your reference.
Quick reference.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Ken.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for those who are, yeah, sorry, go on.
For the assignment and the presentation, you have to base on the latest 2021.
Okay, if you already done the 2017 is fine. I posted it for people who are working and you know, those who are involved in this area. Then you should really be looking at 2021 lah. Kalau you're working like Riza, use Riza. You're working in the area of corporate governance So ada baru punya keluar yesterday, hot from the oven. MCCG 2021 saya postkan on the WhatsApp. So somebody asked just now whether assignment, whether assignment you should use the old one or new one. So for those already done the 2017 is fine, mengikutilah. For those who are working like your area, you're working in this area, and you need to advise your board or whatever, you can tell them, boss, you got a new one for your headache. Much stricter than the last one. For example, in the new MCCG, director that are serving, independent director that serve more than 12 years, tak boleh lagi lah. I think they're going to pass a listing rule. Maximum is 12 years lah.
12 years.
So there were many directors served 20 years. They did a survey. I think there are more than 200 over directors serve more than 20 years. Some even 30 years. So they are looking into this issue of relationship and independence of pengarah bebas. So the new CG means business. So they're going to pass a listing rule, 12 tahun. And for those who hit the 9 year, from the 9 year as independent, from the 9 year onwards, 9, 10, 11, they have to go for 2-tier voting at the AGM. 2-tier voting meaning the shareholder will be divided into dua bahagian, two group. One is the major shareholder, those who hold 33% controlling shareholder, one block, and then the other block are minority shareholder like you and me lah. And then the vote, if any of group A or group B say no, means no. So if, for example, group A say yes lah, the big boss, big guy say yes, but the small boys, you know, like you and me gang up together and say no, then the fella cannot be reappointed sebagai pengarah bebas, but still can be appointed as a pengarah. Pengarah bukan bebas lah. So there are two issues here, can be reappointed, but whether the status is bebas atau tidak bebas. Okay, so this is one of the new changes of the MCCG. And also another change is they say cannot combine board meeting. Many cases I know also lah, we also do it. Audit com and board meeting meet together, one shot lah, right? But then right minutes the time they separate. So the MCCG say cannot, you must really have a separate meeting. You must meet without the executive unless you invite them to come. You cannot combine the meeting and then change a minute and say that you meet lah. So that means more work lah. And then they also say they should not be the same director who become chairman of everything lah. Kalau you're the chairman of the board, you cannot become the chairman of AC. You cannot become nomination committee, you know, and so on. You got, because mainly the company got boards like AC, Auditcom, they got nomination committee, they got remuneration committee, and now they say you should really have a risk management committee also, because a lot of them combine with AC. So they say they recommend that you should have a RMC separate lah to address the risk issue. And all this committee must consist mainly of pengarah bebas. All right, pengarah bebas must be the dominant factor there. So there's a lot of spotlight being put on pengarah bebas to become the goalkeeper. All right, the goalkeeper or the gatekeeper. Tough job, tough job. Then the other one is what other changes? Then the remuneration audits must be disclosed in more detail lah. Tidak boleh sembunyi and say, too shy to show the thing. You must show how much you get, the detail, so that shareholder can question you. These are some of the changes, but if you look at the copy which I have, I will share it. If you want to answer, because in your assignment already is already more or less done already, I think. But in the online exam, there are the soalan, which is also to do with MCCG. So in that particular question, if you want to, you can mention that the MCCG 2017 is now superseded by 2021. You can say that if you want to lah. If you're not ready, it's fine if you answer and say that, this is referring to MCCG 2017 only. So up to you. But for people who are working in this area, you may also want to, what they call that, internalize, the new things, yeah, and be aware of what are the new things. But never mind, I will just show you sharing document, what is the code. Boleh nampak sini? Can see it.
Yes.
Okay, so I just run through for those who want to use this to answer the online exam. Because in the online exam, they ask you question that the MCCG ada 3 prinsip. So to answer that particular take-home exam, you can write what are the 3 prinsip lah. So the 3 prinsip is, okay, this is a new code. Okay, April just came out 2 days ago, 2 days ago lah. Okay, so content. So the principle is the same, Principle A, board leadership, and so in your answer to start off, the thing is that you define lah apa ni principle A, apa ni principle B, and apa ni principle C. So principle A is board responsibility, board composition, and board remuneration, very important because money speaks lah. So they want to find out how much the director get lah. Okay, if you don't have this disclosure, they can wall up a lot of money and nobody knows. Principle B is more for this question, they direct you on auditors. So after you answer these 3, then you should zoom into principle B lah. So principle B talk about effective audit and risk management, which is about the audit committee, the risk management and internal control. And principle C is integrity in corporate reporting and meaningful relationship with stakeholders, engagement with stakeholders and conduct of general meetings. So the question direct you to say that what is the role of auditors in pentadbiran corporate governance. But you have to remember, auditor, there are many types, right? So don't limit yourself to external auditor. Also, in your answer, you can mention something about juru audit dalam also, which is given quite a prominent profile in Principle B as well. So in the old days, they only remember the juru audit luar, but they've forgotten about the juru audit dalam. So dalam corporate governance, in your answer, you should mention that there are 2 types of auditors, right? Which is the external independent auditors required by Akta Syarikat, and number 2, juru audit dalam, fungsi juru audit dalam if it's outsourced, that is required by Bursa listing rule. So one is like, like you take a person have two hands, right? 2 arms, right? So the juru audit dalam and juru audit luar are like the left and right arm, all right? The left and right arm, because you need 2 arms to work effectively, because external audit only cover year end and financial audit. They cannot see operational matter in between, right? So the juru audit dalam role is to look at operational issue, and their audit is throughout the year, bukan saja at year end. It's throughout the year. They should be there. It could be quarterly if it's outsourced, minimum lah, or it could be continuously having audit program if they are internal. Okay, internal what they call that a department. All right. Any questions so far on this? This is to answer your question for the online exam, all right? So in online exam, you'll be given a question on what is MCCG, principle, what are the principle? So your answer should start off is principle A, principle B, principle C. When you finish answering that, then you zoom into principle B. But before you zoom into principle B, you can answer also for principle C. One of the function of auditor is to be present at the AGM. For principle C, all right, what the juror audit should do is he's required by Akta Syarikat to be present at the AGM. If he doesn't, it's an offense according to Akta Syarikat. Now, why does the auditor have to be there at the AGM? Because mungkin ada soalan by the shareholder or interested party directed at him, and they may not want the board of director or the CEO to answer. Mungkin they want the auditor to answer. Okay, so when you finish that, then you zoom into principle B, which is the effective audit and risk management. So there are three parties involved in principle B. Yeah, ada jawatan kuasa audit committee. So the audit committee is not the auditor, but they are the internal. How should I put it? They're the internal watch body. They're the internal watch body. They control, not control. They are the people who are the whistleblower, internal whistleblower. Okay, and then they set up the procedure to communicate with the juror audit dalam and the juror audit luar. So the external auditor and internal auditor will communicate with the audit committee on audit issues. Now, one of the role of the audit committee is also to assess the juror audit. One of the role of the audit committee is to assess the juror audit. Why do you need to assess the juror audit, both the luar and the internal, is to assess whether, number one, are they competent or not? Sometimes the auditor may not be competent, they make mistakes, and they don't do a good job auditing, or they could be asking the wrong type of information, right? So one of the role of the audit committee is to assess whether the external auditor and the internal auditor is competent in the area. So of course, the audit committee themselves must also be qualified. One of them must be a qualified auditor also lah, and they are required to update themselves on audit issues, accounting standards issue. So after they have assessed the independence, the other one is whether they're independent or not. If the audit committee suspect that the juror audit, internal audit is what they call that, is a related party, then they will make some noise lah. Is that possible lah? The auditor is what they call that, related party. Possible.
Possible.
Yeah, I've come
Yes.
across a case. I can't remember the name of the listed company. It's very funny. Small company, listed company. There is an internal auditor there. All right. So when I look further into the internal auditor, the head of the internal auditor is a daughter of the CEO. The daughter of the CEO. All right. So then we're asking the question that how the auditor can be independent, because the father is the CEO, the daughter is the head of internal audit, right? But the focus of the corporate governance all talk about directors, They don't talk about the internal auditor. So now the new corporate governance talk about the audit committee must assess the independence. So I think this will catch the situation where if the audit committee, know that the head of internal audit is a daughter of the CEO, I think now they have to busy already. They will say that, no, not appropriate. We have to change. Okay. So that was a very funny case, right? And it was disclosed in the annual report, in a fine print that the internal auditor is is a daughter, same surname. Same surname. So the role of the chairman is to check and balance juga. Check and balance juga. So the role of the chairman may not be operational. In fact, he shouldn't be involved in the operational issue, right? His is just to act as a watchdog and blow the whistle, right? Blow the whistle. Last night I was watching a movie, Netflix, on the whole The Crown. is about England, you know, about the Queen Elizabeth during that time when she was a young lady just appointed when her father passed away, and the Prime Minister was Winston Churchill. So you know Winston Churchill is a CEO, bukan? He's like CEO of UK, very dominating character, you know. He's a big bully lah. So want to bully the Queen. So the Queen never had good education because she's a queen, so she never went to proper school. She didn't know about corporate governance and the constitutional law and everything. But all the other things, she's not well versed. So try to bully her lah. And then one day, Winston Churchill had a stroke, and the vice prime minister, foreign minister, also got stroke overseas. That means the country theoretically don't have a prime minister who is functional in both capacity, right? So, and what happened was they kept it a secret from the Queen for nearly 1 month. All right, for 1 month. So the Queen doesn't know that the country didn't have a functioning prime minister. It's like Malaysia, both Muhyiddin, touchwood lah, touchwood, suddenly got, COVID or something, example, or something, maybe stroke, example lah, not touchwood. And then there's no deputy also. I understand there's no deputy PM, but there is a committee or something where, there's a wink wink who is supposed to be. Normally there should be a deputy, So in the England case, during that time, both the deputy and Winston Churchill one had a stroke, the other one was unconscious in operation. So the Queen didn't know for 1 month, all right? And there was a whistleblower. The whistleblower told the Queen that, accidentally, like actually, that the Prime Minister is, Peng San, Surya Peng San slept for a few days, unconscious, right? Then finally wake up. Then the Queen was very angry because her role was actually to have check and balance, to make sure that somebody runs the place and to arrange for replacement. So she gave Winston Churchill a shelling of his lifetime lah, when he woke up, So her role, yeah, constitutional role was actually like a chairman, right? For corporate governance, make sure it's run properly. So at that time, it was a very dangerous time because UK at that time, according to the documentary, did not have a functioning prime minister for nearly a month, right? Due to the fact that the executive pakat, they gang up together to hide the information from the chairperson, right? So in the company, you do the scandals like, for example, like Transmile and all these cases. In Transmile case, Tan Sri Lee Leong Sek was a chairman, right? He doesn't know anything, was kept the secret from him. So when it blew up, it's surprising also. Sime Darby had also a scandal, accounting scandal. Sime Darby, CEO, was accused of hiding something, and the chairman at the time was Musa Hitam, Tan Sri Musa Hitam, politician, ex-politician, right? He was badly surprised, and he took action to remove the CEO. Now, the new MCCG, the new corporate governance 2021, say that there shouldn't be any active politician on the board of directors. Other included in the board. There should be no active politician. That means if you are a member of some political party or whatever, they say best practice, you shouldn't be in it. There's no punishment mentioned, but they say that as a best practice, the board should look into this matter and not allow any politically active people to be in the board. All right, on the board of directors. So that means there should be some resignation coming up from GLC because a lot of them are linked, are politicians. So these are some of the new changes in there. So do run through the part on the part B, yeah, on the new one that has mentioned on auditors. Okay, so some of the key things mentioned is that, okay, I mentioned just now, the audit committee should assess the auditor, are they independent or not? Okay, and then the second one is also assess the independence of the internal auditor. Many a case, The internal auditor could be related or can be, they should be made to sign a form that they are not related to any of the substantial shareholders. Another thing that the auditor have to give is transparency report. The auditor have to give a transparency report to the Syarikat board. What is a transparency report? For a big accounting firm, they normally prepare a report to show that they are independent globally and have no connection with the Syarikat that they are auditing, and then they have to sign off, right? So they're completely transparent. They say that there's no relative, no son, no whatever working for the company, and they declare that they are transparent. Okay. Internal auditor, they are required to also declare and they report directly to the AC lah, the AC committee. For those who just come in, we are now discussing the new code.
Mr. Ken, and there is also no favorable, which means or spouse or anything in the board directors, no relationship connection.
For pengarah bebas, no relationship. Okay, pengarah bebas. But if it's pengarah bukan bebas, you can appoint the wife, no problem. But her designation will be as executive director or non-executive, non-independent.
Nak pengarah bebas.
Tidak bebas. So tidak bebas could be executive or it could be bukan executive.
Yes.
Chairman, chairman can be executive, also non-executive.
Yes.
But by definition, by definasi, kalau executive, that means cannot be independent already lah, because you are involved in the operation, so you cannot be independent. Okay, so Principle B in your answer, you should be looking at Principle B a lot more lah. So for Principle C, basically auditor, juru audit luar, I think the juru audit dalam also should be at the meeting to give transparency if they are asked. I remember one of the questions asked at one of the meeting I attend virtually was shareholder asked the auditor, is there any fraud that we should know, or is there anything that keep you awake at night? So they asked such a question very open, so the auditor will stand up and say that, no, I can sleep at night, there's no problem that keep me awake at night, and so on. So nowadays audit shareholder quite smart, they ask a quite open-ended question and force the auditor to say something. Okay, let me turn to the page on the. So basically the new one, the new guide become tougher lah. Okay, they say 30% wanita board. They say if they don't disclose, if they don't meet it, they must explain already when. So the target date is up. They say they should really implement 30%. Okay, and the board must also address sustainability issue, which is environmental, society, and safety. Right? So you read the newspaper, so many accidents happen, bridge collapsing, I think the third time already this month, a crane collapse. So the board must have sufficient understanding, knowledge on sustainability and safety issue. So again, just now I say the role of auditors, I mentioned corporate governance. So to answer the question, you have already mentioned external auditor, then you mentioned internal auditor. I think another category of auditor you can mention is safety officer, safety auditors. Safety OSHA auditors, occupational safety. All right. Now, these kind of auditors are very important because they go around the project site, factory, They call him a safety officer, but actually he's an auditor also lah, safety auditor, to make sure that, because now board of director under the MCCG have to look at sustainability, safety, and environmental issue, and also corporate governance. So you can mention that in your answer also. The role of the safety auditor is to ensure that the safety issues have been met and the workers are working in a safe environment, right? And reduce injury time. Another type of auditor to ensure quality, to ensure what they call that your processes are working properly is the ISO auditors. you have your internal auditor, right? The internal auditor is an internal ISO auditor, another category of auditor in your company whose role is to go and check whether you follow what do you call it? There's issue involved in your ISO, and to highlight any non-compliance NCRs, yeah, and to close off those issues as soon as practicable to maintain quality. All right, to maintain quality. What other type of auditors have we got? Is there a QC? Some company have QC auditors, quality control. Their role is to go and test check maybe 1 in 50 items to make sure that this item passed the quality test. Because if you have rotten goods going to the customer will be very angry, right? Yeah, and you may get sued also because of product liability issues. So this is a new one under the MCCG is sustainability review. Okay, board composition, we have done that. Another issue is you cannot appoint an auditor as a director until the person has left the company for left the audit firm for at least 2 years. All right, left the audit firm. This is to ensure that there's corporate governance. The auditor have to stay away for 2 years before he can join this company as a pengarah bebas. The ladies should be very happy. The new code say that at least 30% of women director. All right, the board have to disclose in the annual report. No excuse. I say you have to go and try. So you ladies may end up in the pengarah and the listed company. Okay. So large companies are not encouraged to retain a director for longer than 9 years. So between 9 and 9, after 9 years, you have to go for 2-tier voting. Two-tier voting. So tier 1, the large shareholder. Tier 2 is minority shareholders. If any of these two categories say no, then this person tidak boleh be appointed as a pengarah bebas again. Okay, I got one way to cheat. What if I already going to be 9 years, 8 years, then I resign. And then come back 1 year later. Can I be reappointed as a pengarah bebas and run for another 9 years? That means I'm a pengarah bebas of Relco Corporation, for example, right? So I know that next year I'm hitting 9 year. So on the 8th year, saya resign. Meletak jawapan, don't stand for the AGM, just leave lah. Then I 1 year absence, I come back. Cannot. No, they will check. All right, they will check. Okay, so you cannot go 1 year and then a few months later you come back. Cannot. Right, they already checked that. Okay. So this one you can write a lot, because if you talk about the different type of auditors, but this exam is only 1 hour, so don't get too carried away lah. There's also some multiple choice questions. Okay, so like I say, the focus for the online exam on the MCCG, whether you choose 2017 or 2021, is focused on auditors. All right, so my advice is when you answer the question, the auditors got different types. So you should address a different type of auditors, right? External, internal. Then you also got safety auditors. You also got ISO auditors. All right, and some company got QC auditors, quality control, right? Very important. So they all play a role because human nature is if you don't check, it's not done. So you must do check, but you cannot check everything. So you do sampling. Testing is by sampling. Well, who check the auditors? who monitor the auditors are doing a good job? The audit committee. Jawatan Kuasa or the audit committee will be the person, the board will be looking and assessing the performance of the auditor. If the internal auditor didn't do any report, right, then he will kena sack lah. But he cannot be sacked by CEO. He'll be sacked by the audit committee. All right. So the Juru Audit Dalam must present an audit plan. What is the audit plan? He must tell the Juru Audit Audit Committee, this is my plan for the year. I get, would you approve this? Have a look at it. So there's a normal plan. I know I do warehouse audit, inventory audit, HR audit. Normally this is a normal cycle lah. All right. Mungkin they do something on the manufacturing process, raw materials, wastage, and so on. Or there's a whistleblower, you know. So the chairman of the audit committee say, Mr. Ken, you know, I had a phone call yesterday that somebody is stealing goods from the warehouse. Can you please look into it discreetly and report back? All right. In fact, last month I had a request from the auditcom chairman of one company. Say, Ken, can you please look at our MACC procedure whether we are watertight to protect ourselves or not? Do we have? So I told him my answer is no, we don't have anything. So he panicked and, you know, start the ball rolling, you know. So sometimes you don't say anything, you wait to be asked lah, because if you go and volunteer and open your mouth, you might get shot. So if they open the mouth, you can answer. All right. Then there was another question. Another board was asking, can you go and look at the software? You know, I heard a lot of cyber problem. They download illegal software. You know, that kind of thing. Go and have a look at the computer, see whether they download anything or not. So these are special assignment. So I may give them an audit plan, but whatever they want will supersede lah. So in the audit plan, they will say, this is the audit plan. However, if there's any impromptu requests from the audit committee chairman, then it will take precedence. Okay. So there's always something to do lah, because, you know, whistleblower now, the whistleblowing program actually quite effective. A lot of things come through the phone, in the construction company especially, in the site, because you don't go to the site, project site, you don't know what's happening. So a lot of things come from the project site. Now, why the project site fellow whistleblow? I suspect maybe they are not included in the food chain. Sometimes jealousy, you know, the guy see this guy getting paid, you know, but he doesn't get paid. So sometimes because of jealousy, revenge, they may be a whistleblower, you know, or it could be somebody honest and just want to do the right thing. Many years ago, we received a phone call from the engineer. The engineer highlighted to us, it was a Kepala Batas project where the project making money, right? Very good margin, 20%. And the project progressed. There was no issue. The margin was exactly 20%. Everybody's happy. But he highlighted in the report to us that there are plus minus item, right? Some item actually there were favorable variance, the materials, but there was a big increase in sand usage, huge increase. But the huge increase is buried by other favorable variances. So the overall is still very good. But within the segment, there's something very suspicious because at that time there was a big flood in Kepala Batas rainy season. They shouldn't be using any sand. So the tip-off, we went to check. True enough, there were lorry hantu, there were fictitious DOs been signed, right, to deliver fictitious sand. Yeah, and this one come out to a few 100,000 ringgit, which was shared between the supervisor and the supplier, sand supplier. All right. So this will never be known because overall, kalau you monitor the project on a project by project basis, you cannot see the suspicious because it's giving good margin. The margin is 24%, which is in line with other projects. So you wouldn't suspect, but actually within the line item, there's some item that was overshoot a lot. So they will target this item to siphon money because this big increase is hidden by other good things, other surpluses, right? Surpluses. So when you do stock count also, overall variance, very little. But when you look, there's some huge plus variance, huge minus variance for each item, line item. So something is wrong lah. Either they record wrongly or something is, So when the auditor go and check, they should look at line by line item, not just overall. Overall can give you a misleading picture because they cover up the plus minus. Yeah, so these are some of the more practical audit issues lah. So you're confident enough on the exam? Should be okay, right?
Okay now.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so.
The exam will be carried out on UMCell.
What I do is I will post it on WhatsApp. I think it's 2 o'clock, right? 2 o'clock. Yep. And you'll download from there, answer, and then when you reply the answer to me, it will be in your Microsoft Words, email to the Gmail, the auditingclass@gmail.com. Yeah. And remember to put your name and your student number at the front page lah. Email back. It's a 1 hour exam, not 2 hour, 1 hour exam. So okay. Let me see. So you're all very lucky because they choose to focus on the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance. So if you know one, you actually answer 2, 3 assignments, but the focus is different. One is on Principle A, another one is on Principle B, that kind of thing. Okay, so none of you are going to come back and repeat the subject. So if you repeat the subject, you have to study the new one, MCCG 2021. So this code, I think, will keep getting tighter and tighter as time goes on. All right. And the companies now are required to look at environmental and safety and corporate governance. So I suspect next time there'll be another type of audit, which may not be carried out by the external auditor. It may be carried out by an environmental auditor. All right. So this type of auditor may specialize in this kind of issue on environmental. They will go and assess whether the company is doing something that yang sustainable. All right. So now very susah, for company, like you are doing oil and gas, tidak boleh dapat loan, from banks, because now they got ESG. So ESG tells the bank, like Hong Kong Bank, Citibank, they cannot lend money to company that give heavy carbon footprint. So susah lah, like Sephora, Energy, Kencana, all these fellas, already high gearing, and then the bank may tarik balik the loan, if they, I mean, a company like Shell, Exxon, they're going into wind farm, they're going into EV, going into solar. Why? Because these are the ones that they give loans, the banks. So the first one they attack, this one, the reform is to hit the financier. So financier now are forced to go and look at all these sustainability issue, whether the company, like Top Glove now got problem. They say, oh, you're hiring, what they call that, forced labor, right? Forced labor, then susah lah. They will do audit. The guy come and audit and see whether, you have changed or not, compliance. So I can see that this is going to get more complicated. So next time auditors will be not just Company Act, right? It could be also environmental. There could be some ESG guideline, practice note be issue. Who is qualified to do such an audit? All right. So it may not be the person that do Company Act, but Company Act audit is different, right? It's about figures, accounting standards. Yeah. So the world is changing lah. The world is changing. So if you invest also nowadays, kalau you invest EPF, indirectly to EPF, tabung haji, all this, they also have to now look at sustainability to invest. Now they got Sharia compliant also, so some funds can only invest in Sharia compliant. So I think Sharia compliant generally should comply with ESG also lah, generally speaking lah, so the world is changing lah. Okay. I send you some multiple choice example. Okay. You can open up, have a look. The answer is given at the bottom. Do you have it now? Can open up and have a look. Let me see if it's available. Can you see it? Can you see what I'm sharing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So ABCD. Actually, okay. So let's go through. Just run through some lah. For those who want the Bahasa one, you can use Google and share it and get it translated. Google Translate. Okay. For the Bahasa version. So various types of quality audits are product, process management, the system, registration, certificate. The answer is very simple lah. All right. Quality audit is all of the above lah. When the auditor is an employee of the organization being audited, the audit is classified as answer is internal, external quality audit. The most comprehensive type of audit is you got quality, all right, quality system audit, which this is the ISO thing lah. Each of the three parties involved in the audit play a role. So maybe you can answer this in your corporate governance answer also, right? There are three parties involved in the audit, right? Which is the client, the auditor, the auditor, and the auditee. The three parties, the client, the auditor, and the auditee. An audit is usually conducted in 3 steps. So a pre-examination of opening meeting. So before the auditor start the audit, normally they will meet up with the board, right? And they will present audit plan. This is for external audit. Then they will go through the deliverables. Under Akta Syarikat, they have to do the whole thing. They cannot restrict the auditor from just auditing the balance sheet or the P&L account. It must be for the whole set of accounts. So answer is a pre-examination, opening meeting. Same with ISO also, they have an opening meeting. Then they have a suitability audit of document procedure against the selected references. The auditor examined in depth the implementation of the quality system. The answer is true lah. The audit final report should include as a minimum the following. So you have should include, choose the one not required. All right. So type of audit conducted is internal audit or quality audit or what, or external audit. All right. Identification of the parties who are the auditor, auditee, third party, audit team members. You must mention them. Critical non-conformities. This is normally in the form of a management letter. Audit standards. If you're doing external audit, MASB, and so on. Determination of proper corrective action, your recommendation, duration of the audit, how long, right? So the one that's not required is the characteristics of audit, not required. The time required and the costs involved in an external audit are much higher as compared with internal audited. True also lah, true. The audit is a fact-finding process that compare actual result with specified standards and plan. A is the answer. Number 9, is also expected to provide resources needed and select staff members to accompany the auditor, which is the auditee. When you go, external auditor come in, right? So the auditee is supposed to provide, a room, provide photocopy, or provide assistance to the auditors. Okay. For the benefit of the organization, quality auditing should only report non-conformance, corrective action, and should not highlight areas of good practice. Answer is false. If it's good, they should also say it's good. Okay, the risk of management fraud increases in the presence of. Answer is okay. This one is not allowed by Bursa Malaysia, right? Bursa Malaysia don't allow the MDCO to be rewarded on the basis of sales. Why? Because they are afraid that he will resort to fictitious sales, just like Transmile, Enron, in order to cook up good results. Okay, so they are not allowed to have incentive that's based on sales because it gives rise to fraud. Auditing standards differ from audit procedure in that the procedure relate to, the answer is B. Okay, 13. Which of the following factors likely to be identified as fraud factor by the auditor? Okay, when a company is planning an IPO, okay, this is to raise money. So this one is a high risk fraud factor. All right. Many fraud cases also occur when we are planning IPO. All right. Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you think this DIY, okay, DIY is doing well or not? Is it doing well?
No.
Yes, during pandemic.
Maybe you do a vote. How many think DIY actually make a lot of money? Put yes. Why? Put why lah if you think make a lot of money. No, don't make money. So this is a very interesting case because you walk into DIY, you buy a lot of things, cheap things lah. Margin berapa you think? 5%, 10%, 20%? Hard to say lah. All right.
Less than 10.
Less than 10 lah. So the share price IPO was maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago. The share price from IPO now go up, increase by 400%.
Cool.
400%. Now from 1 ringgit go to about 4, 5 ringgit. 5 ringgit. Okay. So the document come out very nice. The result come out also very nice. Quarterly result lah. So to the auditor, you know, there is a question
Suspicious activities.
It's quite suspicious, yeah. Whether the accounts have been manipulated or not, we don't know. Because if you walk into some DIY, kosong kan, not many people. They have 700 over DIY. So you scratch your head lah, you know, how come they can make so good profit, right? Compare with
700 outlet within 2 years. Must be something wrong.
and they are going to add another 100 something, you know.
Yeah, that their target.
The target, yeah, the target. So, and they also advertise some newspaper article. They have a robotic factory in, I can't remember, Cheras or Belakong, where they show video, the computer, this robot can take the good, all that, right? So all these are promotional thing, you know, promotional thing. I don't know, it's my gut feeling, you know, that can this be another Transmile later, you know, years later, few months, maybe next year, right? That there could be some issue on creative accounting. We don't know, right? We don't know. Okay, but it's interesting food for thought. So if you happen to be shopping, drop by at DIY, you know, have a look. If it's really good, then maybe it justify the share price of 4-5 ringgit. Another company called Saspadi. You heard of Saspadi? They buat itu buku bagi sekolah. All right. So I think yesterday they announced that they scrap apa itu exam? They scrap the exam. What exam?
UPSR.
UPSR. Do you think this is negative on the company?
Should be.
That's negative impact to Saspadi and others book production.
That's what I thought lah. But the saham naik today. Surprising. Not one, two. So we spoke to the MD, you know. So we asked him, you know, what impact the UPSR cancellation has on your syarikat. He said no impact. In fact, he think it may be good So we scratch our head, you know, it may be good. So he explained, you know, that because Saspadi is involved in online, or they do online education now, like for example, we are doing online now, right? So Saspadi now, they say the textbook and all these things, the proportion not growing, but what's growing is they have online tuition, they have a tutor app like Grab, you know. So like now you can call a Grab taxi, so they have Grab tutor. So in the middle of the night, maybe 12 o'clock, you need a tutor. You know, you can actually log in and you can get a one-to-one tutor and the platform they provide. One example. So we scratch our head, you know, actually nowadays in this era, what you think is bad could be good. Yeah. So the market react in a way that they actually believe that this will happen, that without the UPSR, students will be still going through this self-assessment or school assessment. So they may be using this kind of online and softwares that they use. Because Saspadi tie up with Huawei cloud, you know, the cloud. So from the cloud, they can do a lot of this collaboration and all this online training. And the one very interesting product they have is a tablet that they can be used in kampong, like even Sabah Sarawak. You know, the kid have to go up the tree to get internet. So there were cases where they can actually use this tablet. This tablet can download the thing, maybe weekly basis. Semua ada dalam, so it can be used offline, right? So maybe once a week or once a month, it can be updated by going to a place where there's Wi-Fi, and then this tablet, which is patented with them, right? It's got all these materials in there to enable the school in places without Wi-Fi to do all this teaching, right? And the delay from the update could be maybe need to be done weekly basis, right? Weekly basis, maybe they go down to town where there's Wi-Fi, then it get updated. The interesting product, lah. I mean, so now these auditors also have to ask this question, you know, whether the negative impact is actually positive. They have to be expert in studying the business model. Yeah. Okay. So for the multiple choice, I'm not sure whether they're going to be 10 or 20 questions. The one I posted, just run through it. And then last week also, I ran through some questions with you, right? On some of the other questions on the MCQ. So another example is
Before that, can we look at question 19?
What does it say? 19?
Because there's like should be 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's 1, 2, 2, 4, and A is like 1 and 1.
19. Okay. Which of the following information should a successor auditor obtain during the inquiry of so you got A, there's no answer, is it? Oh, A.
I mean, A is like 1 and 1.
Okay, is there answer given? I think the answer is at the bottom.
It's bottom there.
Okay, what's the answer given?
19 is A.
That's the answer lah. 19 is A. So A is 1.
1
Information.
and 1.
Okay, the predecessor, yeah lah. That means one guy leave, the other guy come. So the information about integrity, okay, that should be asked. I see, you got 1 and 1. There's a disagreement. I think 2 should be in also. Which of the following information should a successor auditor obtain during inquiry of the predecessor? So he should ask 1, information about integrity of management. Number 2, disagreement with management concerning auditing procedure. Number 3, review. I think should be 1 and 2 lah. Sorry, 1 and 2.
But B is 1 and 2.
1 and 2. 1 and 2. Review of internal control. 1, 2 is possible also lah.
C also 1 and 1 again.
1 and 1. So I think the answer, if disregarding all these things, disregarding the bottom part, the answer should be information about integrity, disagreement with management concerning auditing procedures, review of the internal control system. I think for op chart, you don't have to ask the auditor lah. You can go and find out yourself. I would say 1, 2, and 3 lah. 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes in this kind of question, there could be more than one answer. Both answers are acceptable. Because if you are very, very suspicious, you may ask for 1, 2, and 3. If you are not so suspicious, you may just ask 1 and 2 lah. You know what I mean? So it can be possible that there can be more than one answer. So either 1, 2, and 3, and 1 and 2 will be acceptable as the answer.
Okay. And
Okay.
question 22.
22. The use of audit engagement letter is the best method of documenting. So the answer given is A, is it?
Donkey.
Donkey, which is this one. Not clear. The 1 is 2 and 4. 2 and 4. So engagement letter. Okay, because you don't do the first one. This is a management letter. Significantly higher control risk than assessed in prior audit. Number 2, there's an error here. Objective and scope. Okay, the answer should be objective and scope of auditor's work. 2, notification of any changes in the original arrangement of the audit. It should be 2 and these 2 lah.
So it should be 3 and 4.
Yeah, 3 and 4. Yeah, there's a numbering because sometimes it's autocorrect. So the autocorrect, the number run also. Okay. So the answer should be the use of an audit engagement letter is the best method of documenting objective and scope of the auditor's work, notification of any changes in the original arrangement of the audit lah. So it's these 2. I shared one. Maybe you just put a tick lah. Right.
Okay.
Don't rely on this one because I think it's auto-corrected. Okay, the rest are okay?
Yeah, the rest are okay.
Yeah,
The rest,
only-
there's no 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, okay. So just go through that. And the other week also we went through some, right? Some of the other MCQs. Okay, which of the following is not the responsibility of a company's director and audit committee under corporate governance? A, reporting to shareholder on accuracy of account. B, establishment of internal control. C, keeping proper accounting record. D, supplying information and explanation to the auditor. Which of the following is not the responsibility of a company's director and audit committee? A, B, C, or D? So the answer is actually A, reporting to the shareholder on the accuracy of the accounts. Is whether the accounts are true and fair or not lah. So they
So
don't
it
have
should
to
be the responsibility of auditor, not director.
the word reporting to the shareholder on the accuracy of the account. Because after Syarikat don't talk about you have to tie up to the last cent. Basically, I thought about whether your account is misleading or not, whether it's benar dan saksama. So if it's a bit off because of maybe rounding up problems and all those things, is acceptable lah. So they don't have to report to the shareholder on the accuracy of the accounts. Accuracy means must be very, very tie up everything, right? So sometimes there could be some numbers that run a bit because of rounding up. So which of the following not the responsibility of company's directors? Maybe the auditors, the auditor's role could be to highlight that if it's a very material item, they will highlight in the report that there's a big mistake in the aging report. They will highlight that lah. So you are right. The auditors will highlight the accuracy of the accounts if it's material. But as far as the director is concerned, right, they have to report to the shareholder whether internal control is established whether they've been keeping proper accounting records in the director's report, and supplying information and explanation to the auditors are the job of the director. So the job of the director not to explain to the shareholder on the accuracy of the accounts. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, the other one, some examples lah. I think we did this already. Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance is issued by who?
SC.
SC, yeah, simple one, this one. I think the rest more or less, if you go through that, it shouldn't be that difficult. If you go through your MCCG corporate governance, whether 2017 or the 2021, you should be doing okay in the 1 hour test. All right. So let me see. If you want to meet up on Sunday for a short one, it's also possible. 10 o'clock. If you got any question on Sunday, is what date?
Sunday morning, I think we have another test for online exam for another subject.
Oh, on Sunday itself, is it?
Yeah, 10 to 12.
At night?
10 to 2 p.m. 4 hours.
Oh dear. This is the
For
calculation.
accounting one.
Okay, so I think you'll be no condition to think about anything after that, right? Maybe on Monday, if you want to meet up for a short session, Monday 10 o'clock is possible if you don't have any exams. If you got any question to ask, yeah. Then next week is really your test, huh?
You mean on the next Monday, 10 p.m.
Let me check the date, eh?
Third
That means
of
this.
May.
Oh, 3rd of May. Your exam is on the 9th, is it?
Yeah.
3rd of May, 3rd of May, 3rd of May. Yeah, Monday. If you want to, we can have a short meeting lah, on the 3rd of May, about 10. If you got any other questions to ask. Okay, so your other things are coming on track. Your video production is getting on track.
Hopefully.
I hope. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we will let's see.
We'll
Finish
submit to you soon next
Yeah.
week.
Okay, so we'll finish off now. So tomorrow, you got exam tomorrow? No. Saturday? No.
Preparing for the exam.
Okay, that means next week lah.
Preparation
Sunday is
for the exam.
okay, right. Okay, so I will catch up with you guys on the Monday lah, about 10. Have a short one. If you've got any soalan or last minute questions you want to ask about your assignment and also your online thing. Okay, so have a good weekend and take care. Now we have 3,000 over people, right? So a lot of schools is online, including my kids now online. I have to look after them. So yeah,
Case keep on increasing from day to day.
yeah. So
Nothing going to do about
yeah, be extra cautious. So looks like online will be the thing to go for a while. All right. Okay, so do wear your mask and yep, social distancing and take care lah. So I'll catch up with you guys on the Monday, for a short one.
Okay, very short. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ken.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Ken.
Good night. Good night.
Good night to you.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Ken. Bye-bye.
Welcome. Okay, good night.
Good night.